you have another line that I love because I used to struggle with this a lot. I thought that the politics game was nonsense, that you should just focus on being good, delivering results, and everything else is a waste of time. And as it happens with time, with learning, with experience, you learn that there's actually value in it because and you have a great line that I want to say, but when you do it the right way, it's about influence. It's not about manipulation. So you have a line that says, play the political game with integrity. Could you please expand on how is it that you can play the politics game with integrity?
Yeah, and that has a lot to do with both inside of a corporation and outside if you're an entrepreneur or a speaker. And it is really all around speaking your truth, telling your own stories and doing it in a way that does not pass judgment on other people. And it's a very, very tricky balance. So I have a TED Talk called Picture a Leader, Is She a Woman? And inside of the TED Talk, I talk about how when people are asked to picture a leader, like 95% of them picture a man. And there was a study where they actually asked a huge group of people to draw a picture of a leader, and almost every one of them drew a picture of a man. And so I did my own experiment with my daughters and my granddaughter, and they drew pictures of men. And it really led me to say, wow, we have some work to do so that our daughters see themselves as leaders. And in the talk, I'm very careful to say, boys should see themselves as leaders too. And we have spent so much time playing the blame game where we blame men because they're not supporting women. We blame women because they're not standing up and taking that seat at the table. We blame teachers because of the way that we are instructing in school. What if we let go of the blame and we started having different conversations and we helped our daughters see themselves as leaders? What a difference could that make? And that's important to me. That is personal to me. And it's not saying men are bad or men shouldn't see themselves as leaders. It's a strong statement that we need to have different conversations. And I was really focused on sharing that message with that. I didn't want anybody to listen to that video and feel blame. I wanted them to feel included in the conversation. So for me, that is an example of how we share our personal experiences. We stand up for the things that we believe in, and we do it in an inclusive way so that we're inviting conversation and we're not saying this group is bad or this group is evil and I'm right or my group is right. We've got to move away from that and find ways to have conversations that are impactful and don't leave people with finger pointing.
Now, that's a great point, Carla. And I want to go deeper into that because there's so much going on in the conversation around those topics. And I want to be super careful in the way I talk about it. But there's a lot of research I've read. For example, women they invest more in families, right? They're actually better decision takers because I don't remember the book, but it was basically a research that said that men over estimate their probabilities of winning. Like men that run for office, they sometimes they don't have a chance and they still spend a bunch of resources on the campaign versus women in the majority of the cases on the average, they run only when they have a really good chance of winning. They assess risk in a better way. Probably, I'm sure there's a lot of the reptilian brain there that women have to actually assess risk a little bit better in the natural state of the world, right? So what do you usually recommend to women when they're navigating those environments, understanding what is out there, right? Like we have those biases that 90 something percent of the people, they think of a leader, they think of a man. How do you recommend them to understand first the game before going in and playing it?
Yeah. So if are we talking specifically about corporate America or entrepreneurs or kind of all of the above?
I would say all of the above. If you want to go into each in particular or one in particular, that'd be great. But just in general, what are some of the basic steps that somebody has to take before deciding to play one of those politics or corporate games?
Yeah, so I would really encourage women to watch that negative voice in their heads, because that is really the thing that holds us back terribly. It's often referred to as the inner critic. I have a keynote talk that's called "Is Your Inner Critic Designing Your Future?" And if we're not careful, we invite our inner critic in to design our future and decide what we are capable of. So my coaching to women is really watch that negative voice in your head, recognize when it's showing up, rewrite the story so that you're not letting that limiting self-belief stop you, and try things. You know, we get so wrapped up in all of the bad things that are going to happen and the things that we have to be careful of and the things that we have to be afraid of. I live in Arizona, I live in the desert, and every morning I go for a walk and there are rattlesnakes out. You know, I live out in the mountains. And so I don't let that stop me from going for a walk. I get out at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and I go for a walk and I scan and I pay attention. I'm aware of my surroundings, and I've not gotten bit by a rattlesnake. Now I could, they're out there. The chances are actually really, really slim. And I could sit in my house and say, oh, I wish I could go for a walk, but I'm afraid I'm going to get bit by a rattlesnake. When I would miss out on all of those opportunities. And it takes just a little bit of caution to keep me safe. Our careers, building a business, all of the things we do are no different. Everything that we're dreaming up in our heads that could go wrong actually could go wrong, right? They're not just, you know, Martians are going to land and, you know, steal my business. That's not the crazy stuff we dream up. We think of real things that are risk that could happen. And there's probably about a 2 or 3% chance that it's actually going to happen, and we can put some safeguards in place. So my coaching is really listen to your heart, recognize what it is that you want to do, and take steps towards that with some guardrails, some simple things you can do that are going to keep that worst case scenario that you've kind of got spinning through your mind from happening. Just like me on my walks in the morning, I still go, I'm careful, I enjoy my walks, and so far, I've not gotten bit by a rattlesnake.
That's good. That's good. We want to keep you safe.
Yeah,
So
exactly.